Please welcome Jeff Smith to the Church of Rock. Hello, my brother.
How you doing, bloody?
How's it going, dude?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Are you in Texas now or are you on the road?
I just got back to San Antonio. Just wrapped up a little 3-day festival that we put on in Austin yearly that coincides with the ACL festival. It's called the Austin Corn Lovers Fiesta, and we refer to the larger, similarly acronym festival as the other ACL.
I got it.
Nice. That sounds like
So,
fun.
So we had some friends from California, the Sloth, 60s Sunset Strip era band, and Pat Todd, the Rank Outsiders. Of course, Pat was in the Lazy Cowgirls.
Yeah.
And then a lot of local and bands from my label, Sauce Tex Records.
Nice. And Jeff, for the uninitiated, for the average fan that might not know the history of the HICKOIDS, can you give us a history of the HICKOIDS in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, wow.
In an acorn shell.
Well, the band was, I started writing songs with Jukebox, the original guitarist, in 1983. We played our first show with Black Flag and the Meat Puppets in San Antonio in 1984. Put out our first album, We're in It for the Corn, in 1985. Somewhere in there, Jukebox departed. We put out our album, Waltz Across Dress, Texas, which is, I guess, our fairly signature album compared to the first album. It's more kind of the sound we're known for. We toured hard throughout the United States through the last half of the 80s. Broke up sometime around 1990. Played a few reunion shows throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, probably less than a half dozen shows. And then I got back together with guitarist Davy Jones in 2006, 2007. We started playing out regularly and touring again. We released the album Kicking It with the Twits, a collection of British covers. Album original material, Harry Chafin Ape Suit, in 2013. Davy Jones unfortunately succumbed to lung cancer in 2015. And but other than his passing, we've had a constant lineup for the past 5 years.
Well, that's cool.
And we've been to, we've continued to tour the United States, and we've been to Canada and Alaska, and been to Europe 4 times.
How would you say, Jeff?
6 years.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, hon. I was just going to ask you, how would you say that your audiences have changed over the last, if you had to compare?
Well, they're a lot older.
Right?
That would be the main difference.
That's cool, though. That's loyalty.
We're not a hot topic legacy punk band. I mean, we were never really famous in the day. We fell between the cracks of a lot of different sounds. Originally, we were trying to be a hardcore country meets hardcore punk rock. It was a fairly experimental sound. And, it's our first album, We're in It for the Corn. It's unlike any other piece of rock and roll you'll ever hear, in a lot of ways. But it came out at a time when the split between hardcore and punk was very pronounced, and kind of at the birth of grunge as well. So we were always kind of a square peg. We just weren't rootsy enough for the roots scene, and not heavy enough for the grunge scene. And so we always had to carve out our own space, I guess.
Where would you say
And,
where would you say most of or like a big part of your fan base is located at? Obviously Texas, but are there other parts of the Europe or the US that you do particularly well?
well, a lot of our touring was around Los Angeles and San Francisco. Those kind of remain our stronghold. But again, we were never some big. We weren't a huge band, and we didn't really benefit from the Nirvana bump, I guess you would call it.
Mhm.
Because we broke up right around that time. And even though at that time, I mean, Nine Inch Nails opened for us,
Wow.
I mean, we played with everybody in the world, but
Well,
we had kind of run out of gas at that point, I suppose.
right.
And then being broken up for 15 years, we kind of missed a whole generation of bar goers and whatnot. So it was a rebuilding process and making a new sound, which is kind of more blues based, I guess, as compared to a strictly punk rock sound. So
Interesting.
I was just going to say in LA, not, I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all, but the audiences are so jaded. There's so much going on, so much to choose from. I mean, like, you can have the best band in the world playing in a club in LA and have two people there. You know what I mean? So I just always think it's a really difficult place to stand out and establish, a following that's loyal and that comes out to all the shows. I mean, LA is just really jaded. It's one of those cities that, we've seen that, been there, done that. So it's difficult to even pull your own
well,
weight when LA.
right. I understand what you're saying, but by the same token, you can go play somewhere like Eugene, Oregon, and and the kids just don't really want to hear rock and roll. They want to watch somebody on a turntable. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine. Things change, but we're about rock and roll. And
In all these years, do you have like a crazy memory that stands out? If someone said to you, "Hey Jeff, what is one of the craziest shows you've ever played in your life?" Do you have one that stands out?
Well, there's a lot of them. But I guess really probably just sheerly kind of wild scene perspective. One time we used to play on Lundi Gras, which is the night before Fat Tuesday, at Mardi Gras in New Orleans. We played down there several years in a row in the mid 80s.
Nice.
And we played a show with the Offenders and Scratch Acid. Of course, Scratch Acid would become the Jesus Lizard, essentially, or they were the follow-on to Scratch Acid. And man, it was nuts. There were just people tripping and passed out all over the bar, and it was a scene, man. It was a real scene. But there's been lots of crazy stuff over the years. So
totally,
it would be hard to
mention one.
Yeah.
So how many full-length albums do the Hickoids have out under your belt now, man?
Well, we really only have the two albums from the 80s. There's a few singles in there and an EP, and then in the modern era, the quote-unquote modern era, there's 3 studio records, 2 of those being cover records. The Kicking It with the Twits, as I mentioned, and then one called The Out of Towners, which we recorded with Davy Jones while he was ill. And that's all kind of not necessarily super obscure Texas covers, but it's all Texas songwriters. And it was something that was meant to lift his spirits. And unfortunately, it wasn't done before he passed. But you know,
Yeah,
he was
rest
my
in
brother.
peace. Rest in peace to Davy Jones, man.
Hey, Jeff.
And we just released a double live album.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, like the band nobody knows about it needs a double live album.
That is so
But,
cool. Like
Hey.
double live even. You sound like Kiss or something. It's so kick ass, man.
But actually, it was recorded at Cafe Nila in
Los Angeles.
In 2018, and it showed up on the internet as a bootleg on some BitTorrent site, and a friend alerted me to it and said, "Hey man, this is your live album." And this guy, he knows the band pretty well. He's seen us from the beginning, and you know, and so I gave it a listen. I was like, "Wow, you know, that's pretty cool." It's you know, characteristic of the modern sound, and but you know, it's a raw recording, but it's representative, and so I downloaded it off the BitTorrent site and we pressed it. So there you go.
There you go. The new album by the HICKOIDS, Cafe Nela. Sister Tracy has a question that she likes to ask just about everyone that we speak with. So I'm going to turn the mic over to her.
Well, it just kind of gives me an idea of, I don't know, getting your head a little bit. But I just wondered if you had a choice, if you could go back in time, you know, do it all over again. If you didn't go in to the music business, if you weren't, you know, doing what you do now, what do you think you would have done? What kind of career do you think you would have chosen other than music?
Well, to say that I have a music career might be overstating it a little bit.
Well, you know what I mean.
It is something I you know, spend an extraordinary amount of time and energy on. So, you know, that's my avocation. I don't know. I've never, you know, I've made living made a living in a variety of ways.
Right.
You know,
I just thought maybe you might say rocket scientist,
legal,
or
some illegal, you know.
Oh,
but,
some illegal.
You know, in the past at least. But
so not like rocket science or anything like that.
Never really considered doing anything else, to tell you the truth.
Right on. I just kind of like to see what people, you know, I've heard so many different answers when I ask that question, like the widest variety, everything from rocket scientist to the zookeeper, whatever. And like zookeeper, well, you're in the right business for that. So
yeah. Well, there's a participle of that in what I do. You know, I mean, it's
right.
It's not as easy as it looks. You know,
it's your turn.
You got to keep all the animals fed, and,
right? Fed and watered.
Yeah.
Or it's your turn to throw poop at the people watching you.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, bro, we don't have a lot more time because we have a short segment for our interviews, but we are going to follow up this chat with Jeff Smith from the HICKOIDS with one of his songs. I would like to ask you, we're going through the internet, checking out your videos and some different songs from the HICKOIDS, and we wanted to play Cool Arrow. What's this tune about?
Well, let me preface this by saying that when I wrote the lyrics and the music to the song, I felt like I was writing it about somebody else, but it turns out it's about me. I don't know if you know what the but you know what. So there's a Spanish word culero, and then there's two English words, cool arrow.
Play on words.
So anyway, the song is about a guy who imagines himself to be a real swinger and a hot dude, and is kind of pathetic. So but he carries on in the confidence that he is the cool arrow. So I guess that's enough setup for that.
And one last question too, bro. I saw on Facebook your picture at Stonehenge. How was that? How was that experience?
It was cool. I mean, it's that picture actually. We were there on Easter Sunday, as it turned out. We had played a festival in Bath the night before, and we're like, oh hell, we're like 15 miles from Stonehenge. We got to go here, and English roads being what they are, it took about two hours to get there, but so. But it being Easter Sunday, well, all the pagans and the Wiccans and whoever were all there, and it's a magical place for sure. It's it's kind of awe-inspiring. It seems it's one of those things where it seemed bigger when I was there than I had imagined it. Unlike the Mona Lisa, when you see the Mona Lisa, you're like, God, it's so small. But Stonehenge actually seemed bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Hey, Jeff, another friend of yours in Texas, who's also a really good friend of mine, wanted me to say hello, and that's Joe Cutthroat from the Cutthroats.
Ah, yeah. Joe's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's got a great shop in San Antonio, Robot Monster.
He does.
Vintage guitars, etc.
Yeah.
And our friend DDO Williams, one of my oldest friends, also is one of our mutual friends.
Yeah, I know Dee Dee. Yeah, she's cool,
Yeah.
man. Hey, dude, thanks so much for making the time to come on the show. I know we've been talking on the internet for about a couple months trying to schedule this, and even though our segments are really short, we've been doing it for like 20 years, so it's really cool to talk to heroes of mine and people, whose music I enjoy, because that's the only people I book is people that I really kind of like, their music. So going to be jamming some Hickoids on the show in the coming weeks. We're going to go ahead and spin into a tune called Cool Arrow, but I want to say once more, thanks again, Jeff Smith from the Hickoids, for making the time to come on the Church of Rock.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff. We really do appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bloody and Tracy. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and I appreciate you having me on, okay?
Absolutely, and good luck in the future and all your future endeavors. We definitely back you and support you.
All right. I appreciate that. Keep rocking the kids, okay?
Okay, brother. Thanks, Jeff Smith.
Have a good night.
Take care, bro. Well, there you go, man. Can you hang that up for me,
Indeed.
Sister Tracy? That was our interview and our chat conversation. I don't really like to call them interviews because I just feel like we're having a talk with people we dig. And that was Jeff Smith in Texas from a band called the Hickoids. As you guys know, if you listen to the Church of Rock, we do sometimes have big names on. Sometimes we have little names. But to me, they're all big names. Everyone's a rock star, man. Really. All these people that we talk to, if you watch them live, they are all magical and everyone's a great performer and everyone's got their own style. And I know so many rock stars that if they just were in the right place at the right time, they would be so like a rock star without a doubt. I do have that Cool Arrow song ready to rock right here, actually. And Sister Tracy, if you're ready to go, I guess we could just rock into it and then tell people that Roots of Rock is next.
Absolutely. What he just said.
It is the Hickoids. Roots of Rock with Sister Tracy is next. So set up for some blues. Here's the Hickoids with Cool Arrow at the almighty Church of Rock and KSKQ.